Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Dirtycakes Live at 5. It's another show. Welcome to the thing. Don't remember, subscribe. Make sure that you don't miss any shows. On today's show, we've got Ellie from San Francisco. Hey, and there she is. So I'm going to wave her in. Once again, we're here every Wednesday and Friday live on Instagram, and every Sunday and Tuesday will air on YouTube. So I hope you're enjoying the show. We're getting it all going. In the background right here, by the way, is fucking Summer by Brock motherfucking Hampton. Anyway, we're going to have Ellie on here. She says she wants to get in the show. Let's get her in the show. Everybody, this is Ellie, KXSF. And, we'll just let her talk about all sorts of other stuff here, too, when she comes on in. Anyway, love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hey!
Hello! What's up? How's it going?
I'm blasting a little Brock Hampton on a Friday afternoon. Do you know about Brock Hampton?
That's incredible. I do. I haven't listened much, but it sounds like they're awesome. So
they're the shit. They do not fake the funk. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to think of I think you could say it's that shit. You know what I'm saying? It's great. How are you doing?
Yeah, the shit. I'm pretty good. You know, I mean, just been hanging all day. I substituted for a radio show this morning for one of the other hosts at KXSF, so it was nice to spin some tunes. It was a good start to the day. So, and here we are, rocking it out. So,
yeah, that's awesome. I'm a radio DJ. I was a DJ for a long time. Started in college radio. I got into some AM, FM stuff. XM for years and years, and
that's awesome.
It's funny. I had family and friends, so when it was Thanksgiving, I just had the station. I do 12-hour sets and weird shit like that.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I was doing it in Florida. I went to Full Sail University, which is now University of Full Education. But yeah,
festive.
And so I started doing something at a college there called Rollins College, which is a business school.
Nice.
And then I ended up getting to Buffalo Love Sponge, a radio network on CXM channel, God knows what, I don't remember.
Something. Radio something.
Yeah, I remember the first
There's a lot of stuff.
1.5, the very best basement radio and the voice of Rollins College. Yeah.
Nice. See, that's the radio personality right there. That's perfect. Yeah.
So what's going on in San Francisco? How have you been? What you been up to this week besides just subbing in on the radio?
You know, I've been up to a lot. I mean, I hate being bored, so I always stay busy with something. Right now I'm working at an art museum, which is a lot of fun. And for anyone who's in the SF area, it's the Greg Angelo Museum. It's friggin' dope. So I've been doing that, and I've been working a lot on this zine for the collective that I run, Big Leap Collective.
Yeah!
And working on a lot of new music too. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, well, tell us about the collective. I almost cut you off while you're doing it. And for those of you that don't know, we had a great thing we posted up this week. Great thing about artists reviewing artists. And I know that's only the tip of the iceberg. So tell me more. Yeah,
that was a lot of fun. We're just gonna keep going with that. That was a great start too. I'm really glad y'all reached out and we got connected, because that was a great little artist reviews artist thing. And a lot of people were listening to your music too, being like, "Holy shit, you guys are super cool." Yeah, I know, it's great. I love it. It's cool when people actually make that connection and are like, you know what, this is tight, and actually listen to the people who are reviewing each other. So I love it. But yeah, so
join this live. They're called Spare Parts of Broken Hearts. They just joined this live. You should check them out.
Oh, nice.
And I know that they would engage with it too. Artists reviewing artists, super cool.
Yeah, totally. Check out at Big Leap Collective on Instagram and online too. It's on my Weebly site, because I'm on Weebly. It's gribblin.weebly.com, and then there's a bunch of Big Leap stuff you can get involved with. But yeah, I mean, it's all about I created it with the intention of promoting mostly independent music and the underground art scene as well. Because I mean, especially here in SF, there's such a thriving art scene. But there are very little places, especially all ages places, where young upcoming artists can actually show their stuff. in an affordable way. And also, like, I worked at an art gallery, which was incredible, and I ran events there. But something that always, like, you know, and of course this is just business, like this is how, you know, it is, but the gallery would have to take a cut of every piece purchased because, you know, like that's just to keep the gallery up and running. So with Big Leap, I wanted to make a way to kind of cut that out and to have everything go right to the artist. And same with musicians too, like have working musicians play and just like have a fun night and get compensated. Then, so we had one live event and then COVID-19 hit and I was like, oh, great. Now my whole thing's just down the drain. But we're moving on to an online platform and it's working out really well. So yeah, any local artists, or not even local, just independent, or like any sort of artists and musicians who are out there who just want to get your stuff out there, who want to network in the business more, like hit up at Big Leap Collective on Instagram. We will totally, like, there are lots of opportunities that we got for folks coming up. But like a huge daunting task right now that I'm taking on, because right now it's just me. Like I'm the only one on the team. I'm formatting a zine of a bunch of artists from like all over the world, which is amazing. And I'm going to do another volume of it too. And I want you guys to be part of it. But this one is like, I have like 40 artists. It's insane. Like it's totally insane. But it's a lot of fun. And I'm so glad that people are actually getting something from it.
Oh yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, I love that you're doing it yourself, and like I think it's great to embrace the arts and be as exposed to that stuff as possible. I remember back in Orlando, like I used to throw like music festivals. I had this thing called Spillstock, which was like
my radio.
Nice. And like you know, it started with just like one gig at a bar, and it was just me doing, you know, for what like the upside of that looks like. By like 5 or 7 or 8 or whatever, we'd literally taken like 2-3 clubs, like I think it was one bar, one little like venue, and then like a liquor store across the street that also could have bands play. We did like 3 or 4 nights with 3 or 4 different stages, like 2 dozens of bands, and it all just starts like because you take the first step, right? And that's the thing, like if you do it out of love, show the respect, and you're as inclusive as possible. You also have like a little bit of an eye for like what you want to represent, and to make sure that like are putting across a certain voice or certain flavor, then like people will dig it. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's also like you were saying, like it's a big step. That's why I called it Big Leap, because I was like, what am I going to call this? First, I called it the Grublin Art Initiative, which is just boring. And I was like, that sounds like too businessy and like not what I'm going for at all.
Sure.
Because Grublin's like, that's like my music persona or stage name or whatever. And yeah, so then I was like, oh, Big Leap, because like the first one was mostly like youth artists and like local brands and like younger musicians who were just trying to get their stuff out there and, you know, just have a place to perform. And I was like, oh, Big Leap. Like, you know, you're taking your, because it is a big leap. Like you're really like, you're putting yourself out there into the world and you're like exposing yourself and your craft to all these different people. And, you know, it's a lot to do. So I was like, I want to create a safe space where, you know, people can't do that.
That's awesome. I mean, you know, especially now in this time of COVID where people can't get out, it's great that you're taking to a virtual spot. And I've been seeing a lot of different people doing the virtual thing, you know, like whether it's doing shows online or having like or spots. There's actually a big show here in town. It's called Save Melrose, because when the whole thing happened,
I saw that. Yeah, that was awesome.
Melrose Ave is kind of shut down, so there's these like punk rock stores and the spot. Like, you know, like next to this one, like Starbucks happened to be one store that like was the only place that was like an independently owned place where you could get like Black Flag from Black Flag merch, also Doc Martens, but also like weird, like, you know, hip hop from England and like in Japanese imports. It was like this great shop, right? And on all sorts of other places. And I mean, that's an amalgamation of all the opportunities that were in the area, and the place is just straight up burned down. So the Melrose thing is like, they're doing a live broadcast with actual also artists doing an open air thing at that spot, and the creative space for artists to be. They're basically just like, yes, spend the artists and show their work, but it's community. And I think the hardest part about getting community stuff together is it's not ever being the first person. It's not the second person to do things. I don't know. Did you ever see this video back in the day with like this one guy like dancing in a field, and it's like a 3-minute video. There's like one guy at a rave, wasted, dancing in a field, and there's like one other person, and he's dancing for like 30 seconds, 40 seconds, and then like another guy comes up and dances with him. What happens when the third person joins them, because it's one guy being weird, and then somebody else is weird with him. The third person now it's like a party. And then like
Yeah,
by
nice
the end
thing going. Yeah, exactly.
slim, it's like it's like a dance in seventh grade with one awkward kid's going for it, and 45 minutes later everybody else has a good time. It's like it's not just
Yeah.
it's great that you're doing it and then you one or two other people, and that third person, that larger group, the people that authenticate, that's like called in marketing, that's called the permission giver. And like when you can really get that kind of heat towards something, I think it's beautiful. So whether you're doing it online or in person, like the fact that you're just doing it gives somebody else that doesn't the that doesn't necessarily have the gumption or the know-how or the courage or the opportunity to do it themselves. When you give them that opportunity, it's amazing, and I think that's so
Yeah,
cool
absolutely.
that you're doing it.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's just like, because I'd like to see more places doing it here, and like just in general, like, I mean, it's amazing too, especially after like the George Floyd's kill, like all the protests happening around Black Lives Matter, and all of the like just this like radical change that we need around law enforcement and these like racist policies. There are also so many collectives coming up, like especially in Oakland and San Francisco, that are youth led, that are like doing all these incredible things and having all these like online workshops and seminars and like all these businesses that are happening now, because like there's more of an opportunity for these voices to be uplifted. It's like, it's incredible, and it's really cool to see. Also, I'm just gonna plug at We Bleed Red SF. There are some alumni from the high school I went to who are putting that together, and people who go there, I think, and they're putting that together, and it's supposed to be like a safe space, and like a youth-led alliance for primarily like Black youth to come together. And actually at 6 p.m. they're doing a virtual conference thing about how to like protect those who are coming out about like sexual abuse stories, and how to like build a community around that and be there for each other. So like things like that, it's incredible. Like this time is also like with the pandemic, like it sucks, but it's valuable, like in the way that now we all have time to really look at the things that need to change, right? And like actually take a step toward making huge change and like doing that. So I'm very grateful for that.
That's awesome. What was the name of that place again? I just want to make sure everybody can hear it. I'm also writing it down on my show notes because I'm putting it in like the description now.
It's We Bleed Red SF.
We bleed red SF. As in like we all bleed, we're all fucking human beings.
It's awesome.
Got it. It's picking up what you're putting down. I like it.
Yes, I know, right? Gotta plug
awesome.
it.
I love that. San Francisco's like such a great place. I've been there. I went there a couple years ago. Which was my last trip, and it's such a city. And I think that like, I think that it's one of those great places where you have such an amalgamation of different personality types. And not every metropolitan area is really that diverse or that prone to supporting the arts. And I think that one of the things that time has really shown is how valuable those things are. I think there's a quote from like Churchill or whatever in World War II, where he was like giving the support, and when they were doing socialism to help society, part of it was also stipends out to artists and to communities. And then somebody's like, why them? He's like, well, what if we're not going to save the arts? What the fuck are we doing this for anyway?
Exactly. Yeah.
British, so he's probably a bit more well spoken than that, but you know what I'm saying.
Right. Then what the fuck are we gonna do?
Exactly. Like,
I mean, it's like it just goes to show, like during this time, like what amazes me. I mean, this is like everywhere. Is that there is such a there's such a prominent underground scene and this like incredible local scene. And like everyone is like, oh my god, San Francisco is such a great place for artists and musicians, and it's like this huge like cultural hub of like all this art and like all these creative people. But then it's like the rent's high as hell, and like what, like how are you going to sustain it? Like there are hardly any places to sustain that. So I think it's like we definitely need to move toward that, because it's what it's what makes this place so special too. And I'm sure it's the same like in LA, I mean, I'm right.
No, absolutely. I mean, I'll tell you, like, I think what was floating people along was some lending and some credits, grandfather deals and stuff. But I mean, you can tell the real impact. Shut down and aren't coming back as a result of this. Like we did a show The night before Ellie shut down, we had a show at this place called the Satellite. Satellite's this really old school, great big club. It used to be called Spaceland. And they put out word about a month ago, or a couple of weeks ago, that basically they're not going to reopen anymore. They're turning this super club that all the greats have played, and they're turning it into like a restaurant because they can't afford to keep whatever licensing and whatever else they need to. And if they have it as a restaurant, at least they'll be able to open for business now by running the kitchen that they happen to have, just so that like they can pay the rent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So hopefully, like, you know, I mean, one of the it's looking like it's coming down right one way or the other is sort of an economic collapse, right? And
right.
Collapse, which is terrifying and scary, is also that there's level setting and all of this speculation and artificial propping up of value. They've driven everybody, all the real people out, is going to allow those people to come in. I mean, for what it's worth, I mean, yeah, sure. Like, I know people that are living in North Carolina that pay $5 a month for a 3-bedroom house, and like they're loving it, but it's not a cultural hub for most people to enjoy. Like, you know, we do happen to live in Planet California, and we made that decision.
Totally.
Oh, and like
we're in a total bubble here, and it's great. But at the same time, it's like it's so interesting to like go to a different state and be like, wow, you guys are really different here. Like, what's going on with this? Like, you don't support like all people. Like, it's I don't know. It's always weird for me when I just see Trump signs everywhere, and I'm like, what is this? Like, who could do that? But then you think, like, there are all these people out there who just, you know, like, they don't live in huge urban areas. Like, they don't know better. And, like, and that sucks, you know? It's, like, it's very interesting to think about. Like, even places in California, too. I'm like, what? Like, I went on a road trip to Arnold recently, and, which is, like, you know, up in the mountains. And we were driving by all this farmland, and I saw Farmers for Trump, and I was like, oh, my God. Like, what is that? Like, who?
In Oklahoma, you see that in Alabama, you see that all over the place. They like painted the side of their fucking like granaries and shit, like.
Right, and I was like, oh my God, I live in a bubble. Like, I need to constantly remind myself, like, I live in a bubble. Like, I totally live in a bubble.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, you know, I think it's something that is not lost. You know, I have this theory about people, about I built it around myself, and a lot of people that. I didn't grow up in California. I don't know about you. If you, I made the choice to come out here, right? And so I know a lot of people. Like, for me, every member of Dirtycakes came from myself. The drummer's from Philly, and the bass player is from Hawaii, and I'm from Virginia and moved to Florida, military brat, and all of us effectively made the same across, across an ocean, but you know, like we caught and rivers and deserts and abandoned everything and everybody that we knew to effectively become refugees in some place. And that decision was because of what this, you know, what this house on the hill, what this great thing of like Camelot could be for all of us. And there's so many other people that feel like wherever they're at is perfectly fine for them for whatever reason it is. And I think that is something that I always have to remember when I'm trying to talk to these individuals. They're motivated by something completely different.
Yeah.
Completely different. And their opinion on is coming from a very different place, right? And I always look at this idea of like when I talk to family that's East Coast, that I have to remember that, you know, they might be over or they might be very more related to me. They're taking motives or getting their information from, like, I don't know if you're familiar with this thing called the fairness doctrine, but there's this doctrine that basically meant up until Reagan left office, or when Reagan was in office, he basically pulled this thing. Up until Reagan, it was a legal requirement for all news organizations to, one, be factual under accountability of the law, and two, to present both sides of an argument. When that what happened as a direct result, because it was a business move, was this conservative talk radio and news.
I heard something about that, right? And I was like,
yeah, that's how Rush Limbaugh and Fox News and RN and all of these things, that's how they all stem from, because it was a business motive. So when I talk to these people, it's like, you have to remember that you're also talking to folks that are effectively victims, like, and you can't really blame them for it. So I try not to be nearly as upset with them as so much as
Yeah.
a conversation with them that can devalue, can remove some of the power of their abuser over them, but allowing them to question the legitimacy of like their position. And I think that we happen to live in a place where our biggest problem is there's not enough places for kick-ass art, and other places are.
Yeah,
like,
totally. Yeah, I totally agree. It's like you can't really, blame them because there's so much like false information out there, and it's very it's hard for people to like sometimes acknowledge that in different areas of the world, and it's completely different here again. But something that just came up, what I thought about is very interesting, is like I learned just recently, I'm taking this really cool class online, basically to like help my business skills with Big Leap, and to really look at like what role that the creative industry plays just like in our economy. And there was this really interesting thing that my professor was saying, and he was like, like all these places that have become gentrified, like in SF, I think like a lot of places like are like Valencia, like some places in the Sunset, some like downtown, a lot of these places that have become gentrified, just like as a general thing, at first were like small underground arts and music communities. And that drew people to come there and to flock there. Like, I forgot the example he used, but I'm pretty sure it was like Bob Dylan. And, people would come and like flock there and like, come to see him play and like just generally like to support these arts and music communities. And as a result, restaurants popped up, because they're like, oh, people are coming to all these places, let's go to restaurants. And, more houses were built, more apartments were built. And suddenly the value of that land became what it was because of the arts and music community there. But it became too expensive for the arts, like the original community that like made that place so valuable to actually stay there, which I find so fascinating. And like you take a look at it, like one of them is like Fillmore right now. Like like Fillmore had this huge jazz influence on it. And that's what made it such, like primarily what made it such a like sought after neighborhood. And it's just interesting to see the process of gentrification happening. And it's like a huge thing in SF too. But in like in a very, it's just so ironic because it's like, we don't have room for these communities anymore. We don't have room for these like underground communities, even though those are the communities that have made like the city and have made so many cities and so many places so valuable. And it's just so wild. It's like, really? And we're not going to do more to support arts education in schools and to like, promote like music education and things like this that, aren't expensive. It's just very interesting. That just stuck out to me when we were talking.
Absolutely. I mean, the biggest example in SF I can think of is, as somebody that's not living there, but just culturally, historically, is like you look at the Haight, right? That was a place in the 60s and in the 70s. There was just because it was cheap as fuck for anybody to basically get flats everywhere. And now the place that might have been, 50 years ago, occupied by a dozen motherfuckers with some sort of extraordinary liberal arrangements, are now multi-million-dollar homes that are decrepit, where like people in like apartment, like closets for what normally would be somebody's month, paycheck. And I mean, place. I've been there. It's funny. Last time I went there, when I was in that area, me and my girl were there, and we got on the bikes, scoots, which are like our favorite thing. And I'll tell you actually the story. It's completely off the rails, but completely off topic. But from the Haight, and we drove around, and we ended up getting on this thing. We're like, oh, well, there's the Golden Gate. We're gonna try the thing. Oh, there's this road that's just like normal road, and all of a sudden you're on a fucking like 4-lane highway about to cross the Golden Gate Bridge, and we had to pull into like this little thing that's right before you get on the bridge, before you go across the river or across the bay, and had to pull over there, take a picture, and then against traffic down into this like other little area, and we found like a bowling alley there as like cops were coming. It was
oh my god.
And then we just hung out in the bowling alley and played a couple games, and then found our way to like around Fisherman's Wharf. And then I did this, like, I tried to find the best apple fritter in the city, so I went to like 3 or 4 different places. Really good day.
That's quite the little escapade. That's awesome.
You got to make adventures out of your city, right?
It's true. Yeah.
I wish, you know, in this time that like all this time off, that people can take time to appreciate, you know, while you're stuck at home. We you know, your car's still a bubble, right? Or like your city is now, like, I think people can really take it. Like I, for instance, just saw something yesterday where somebody has lived in LA for like 30, 40 fucking years, whatever, was hiking through the woods and stumbled across the lake that is the opening Andy Griffith show up in the mountains by like the Hollywood. And it's just like, oh, by the way, apparently forgot that Mayberry is like over the city by West Hollywood, up in this hill that runs through the mountains.
Oh my God.
Like, I need to go. I don't know if you've ever watched Andy Griffith, but that's an amazing show. I've watched every episode front to back like twice. I probably should not. But it's a really good show.
That's awesome.
And so it's like, I think it's a great opportunity for people to take advantage of their surroundings. And I think what's really interesting is because it's going on so long, like the idea of people, first off, take a couple weeks off, I'm going to get fat and then go whatever. Like, it's not really an option. Like month 3, you know, like it's going on for a while.
Yeah. So you just got to make the most of what you got. I mean, and like, you know, back to like Big Leap, that kind of stuff. Like, you know, you just got to make the most of it, especially if you're an artist or creative. Like, you just got to keep working. Like the place that I'm working at right now, my boss was like, because he runs a museum, like he made his house this insane museum. Check it out, everyone. It's called the Greg Angelo Museum. It's absolutely incredible. This guy basically just made his old family house in St. Francis Woods this insane art exhibition. Like all the rooms are just completely beautiful, and we're working on an outdoor exhibit that's COVID proof. And it's just so funny, like every time we're working, like it's you know, it's like they're long work days, and you know, we're like working a lot, and it's a lot of like physical labor. Like I just made a mannequin like out of glass with one of my coworkers, and like I got so many little cuts on my fingers. But like at the end of the day, he's like, you know, like this is gonna happen for a while. You know, you gotta make the most of what you got. And he's like, you know, so like it's not going to like, let's just not wait to make change. Let's not wait to like open the inside of the museum again. Let's make something new that can actually be accessed by people, that because this is going to be a long time. Like as far as we know, we're in this for the long haul, and you know that goes the same for any sort of music or art. Like you just got to find your way around it, and it's kind of a fun challenge too. Like if you're a creative person, I mean, like I'm sure you guys are figuring out live streams and stuff, right? Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah. No, we have a show this weekend we're supposed to be doing and trying to figure out filming. Basically, so the show, like this thing called Save Melrose, like what we're doing is they have art actually outside the space, right? On the avenue. Yeah. There's also this collective, this community that's called Some Cult, and they're all characters and stuff, and they're basically having fans come over to their film studio, and they're going to be shooting some live stuff, and so we opted out to not actually do the live thing. I did one actually in our garage here, where I basically just pre-filmed it, but they're doing interviews, film spots, and all sorts of stuff, and
nice.
They're writing something to people, because you know, I think I've been talking with a lot of musicians through like these types of chats, and everybody's excited about stuff, but part of the issue is like if you're not engaged, you're not able to share in that like of energy. And so it's really, I was playing last night, I finished the song, and usually there's like people or like applauding, right? Like it's either like you get a reaction of, right? Or there's like the one guy who's left who doesn't work there, going outside to smoke a cigarette, you know, sounds better out there. You know, there's none of that feedback, you know what I'm saying? And I think that makes people normal, you know? And so like I've been taking it more to like basically having a video version of like in studio radio performance, right?
Yeah.
Because feedback other than like the DJ that might be in the room. But I know like every radio station I've had, we've always had that one show that I had like live bands in on the show. Like sure, I've been following a lot of the KXSF like stuff on Instagram and like I'm engaging with a lot of different, you know.
Nice.
I know that there's a lot of like live performance. I saw your band where you guys I think were in the studio there, or is it
Yeah,
all
it was so
right?
fun.
You're all like
Yeah.
DJs at the station, right?
Huh?
Are you all DJs at the station?
No, that was actually, well, that's a fun little story. So that was actually that's how I first got introduced to KXSF. I was first in a band, Fantasy Spiders. Shout out to Fantasy Spiders people, you guys rock. And yeah, we did a live session at the studio because Maya, who's the lead singer and guitarist, shout out to her too. She is Maya Fejina. She is an incredible, like, San Francisco local legend. She's incredible. Check out her music. I love her so much. And I've gotten like the privilege to perform with her, and it's just so cool because I've idolized her since I was really like little, and it was really cool to actually get to play with her. And like those are just little fun moments, you know. But yeah, so we got a session there, and we played one of their like live sessions, which is funny now because like now I'm hosting and sometimes on the production team for that. So it's kind of like funny how it all like comes around. But yeah, we've actually gotten right back into them. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, so we did a session there with Fantasy Spiders, and that was fun. And I got introduced to, you know, a lot of people that work there. Guillermo, who is like the volunteer co-director, who's just awesome, rad dude. I don't know if he's watching right now, but if you are, shout out to you, my man. But yeah, I did, like when everything shut down, I did a Big Leap live stream thing, and KXSF started following Big Leap on Instagram. And I did a live stream thing, mostly showcasing people who were kind of discovering that they wanted to be like creative people and like do music and art during quarantine. And the first one I did was a complete flop. Like I tried to do like this kind of setting where it was just live, and it ended up like the Instagram ended up like crashing whenever I tried to add people. So I was like, and I was like, okay, no, we're gonna figure out a way around it. Like this is the reality I'm living in. Like we're gonna be able to do this. So I just asked everyone who was involved, which was like 16 or like 15 performers, to send me videos of their performances. And then the next day I put them all together and I put them on Instagram Live. And Guillermo was watching that, I guess, or, you know, on KXSF on Instagram. And like in between I was talking, you know, like kind of explaining what was going on, things like that. And then he reached out to me and he was like, that was an awesome like little show. And I was like, oh, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And he was like, you've got a great, you know, like personality. Would you like to be, you know, a radio host? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Like, I'd love to do that. It's quarantine. I've got like nothing going on for like as far as I know. So that's how I got involved with KXSF. It was actually through Big Leap and through Fantasy Spiders. So that was just more from a performance aspect, and then you know, just, you know, managing my art collective. So that was really cool. And huh? Sorry, go. Talk.
Oh no, yeah, but what, a couple shows on there a week now?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we've gotten back into him. I also saw that Felipe joined. Hi, Felipe. He's also on the production team. He rocks. He does cameras. He's really cool. I don't know what this is. It's not a camera. This is a camera. But yeah, we're doing. I think we're doing a band every week now.
Nice.
It's very exciting. And yeah, we're just starting to get into it. It's a lot, but it's so much fun. We did.
I watched one of them. I'm trying to remember what his name. It was somebody that drunk, I think, or something.
Oh, that drummed?
No. His name was like something the drunk, or like it was like drunk.
Oh, Drunk Dom. Oh my God, that was so awesome. He's all
right, what's going on? But I'm in.
Like, you know what? I'm all for it. This guy is drunk. He's drunk. Whatever. He's playing the harmonica. He wrote a whole song about being on a party bus on the spot, and all of us were like, "What? Like, how did you do this?" Felipe actually is friends with him, so Felipe was just like, "This is what he does," and we were like, "What the hell?" It was insane. It was really fun. Yeah, and then we did a lot of other people recently. Last week was Bolero. They were amazing. Go check them out on Instagram. I think they're bolero.sfc on Instagram. They're so tight. They're so good. And this week we have the Breathing Room, which is a really cool Bay Area band. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I love it. It's really really cool.
So how big are you guys? Just really focusing on like, I'm trying to think because I know like a bunch of like what I consider Northern California, but I guess anything north of LA, like you're like way up north for me. Right. You guys getting people from? Is it all like San Francisco local? Getting like people from Sacktown or like getting?
It's mostly SF and Oakland right now, and yeah, hopefully moving more toward like just all around the Bay Area would be really cool. I mean, I'm trying to like interview people on my show and have them play like short sets recently, and I've reached out to a few people like a few bands from like the East Coast, which I think would be fun to have on the show. But as far as live sessions go, like you can't get someone from like like from LA as much in the studio unless they're in town, because that would be cool.
Sure.
But
yeah,
because that'd be fun. Because now we're bringing the full bands in, and it's like it's a lot of fun. It's cool. So you get to see music live. It's very emotional. I think. It's fun to see music.
It's you guys have access to now some like luxury charity like it's an experience where you're getting multiple people in the room. Like I'm gonna be honest, like I don't think I've gone this far without being on a stage in front of people. And like to be fair, like I'm a big guitar nerd, right? And I've got like 1,000 guitars, and I got all the pedals and all the amplifiers. I got all the things, right? Like those, right? And like I have not actually heard my guitar pedal board through my. I run a 2-amp rig, like not to get too nerdy, but I run the 2 amplifiers and about a dozen pedals. I got my guitars and stuff.
I'm the same with keyboard stuff, so don't worry about it. I get you.
Yeah. I haven't actually heard like I haven't heard that live in a room in like 100 days.
Oh my god! Yeah.
Because it's like I've got this old like vintage Sovtek amp, and I got an orange head, and I got like all these pedals from all over the place, and I got these great pedal manufacturer friends that are always sending me stuff, and like I get to use them. There's this great company called Catalan Bread, which is making all these pedals for charity organizations. Like they did one for American Red Cross. It was called the Blood Dome, and it had like drops of blood on it. It was kind of like a rat pedal.
So cool! Oh my god, I love that.
So, and that was fucking rad. And then they did another one that they just released called Dirtycakes, which is kind of like a little anime inspired, whatever. But they made me the one because I play baritone guitars. I don't play like normal tunings. I play like super long guitars. And so they made me one that was like a chipset for what my tuning is versus like E. Well, mine's tuned to like A sharp. So like I'm like piano. I basically play 3 inches to the left of every other piano player, right? Guitarist. And so they like made me custom ones with that, and they were doing something else. I was actually talking to them about like when Black Sabbath announced this shirt. I was like, hey, look, you have a Black Sabbath. It's called the Sabra Cadabra. If you just redid that as like the BLM, I guarantee you, I'll buy one. But they're making them like a run and just blasting them out. And that's a super cool way that they're staying involved. Like, I haven't even heard what that rig sounds like in forever. So, like, I'm super jealous that these people get to be in a room and get to play music. There's something so rad. I looked at the room and I kind of got the vibe back when I was doing radio, how there's the room with all the CDs and the records in it, right? And there's usually like a piano off to the side, and then there's like a window that goes into the control room, and that's where the DJ is. And so the band just sets up like in a semicircle inside of that room with just like old, donated cassettes and CDs from local bands.
That's awesome.
Like that. And it's just like, I miss that so much. So I'm jealous. You're bringing back all these fuzzy.
Well, maybe if you guys ever like, do a safe COVID trip down to San Francisco or Oakland, we can like fit you in or something. Because that would be really fun. I think that'd be really cool.
One way or the other. We're working on getting a tour together. When it's all good. Part of that getting that tour together was just like, reaching out to everybody and trying to make the relationships, right? And so, now we got a home in San Francisco, and that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's what it's about, together community and about for everybody else.
Yeah, that's what's so cool, like, about this time. Like, I mean, I guess as far as my like solo music goes, I'm meeting so many different people from like Portland and like, you know, like LA and overseas too, like in the UK, like in like some places in Russia, like in London, also in South Africa and Zimbabwe, um and Nigeria, like in Lagos. I'm meeting all these like incredible artists who I get to connect with. And it's like it's wild. I mean, I gotta plug this great group because I met this guy named Forbes. Um, he has this great. How did I meet him? I met him. I haven't met him in real life, but like over Instagram. He runs this really great little organization called Big Soko Music, and yeah, he completely like started it like on his own. He like works for like hours and hours on end. He's incredible, and he's managed to get like so many of these incredible artists together. And we're working on actually collaborating, me and him, like on Big Leap. And because, well, first there are so many artists that have been part of Big Soko that are going to be in the Big Leap zine that I'm formatting right now. And nice. It's amazing because I'm getting to know all these people too, and like some people I'm gonna have on my radio show because their music's so good, and they're just like really, you know, sweet, down to earth people who just really want to, you know, get their art out there and like meet other creatives, and it's really cool. But one of them I actually named Rudd, who's this incredible beat maker. He's originally from Zimbabwe, but right now he lives in Mamelodi in South Africa. He is like, he's this really great producer and beat maker. I'm making animations for a lot of his songs right now, like short little animation. I'm probably gonna post one soon because sneak peek, we're gonna have a single coming out on August 10th, and it's gonna be I'm really excited. But yeah, we first started as like a visual collaboration, where I was making visuals for him and like just short, like 10 to 15 second animations. I draw hands a lot. Like I've started my own little shop kind of that's currently kind of on hiatus because I'm working on other things. But I do, like, I'm trying to get back into animating again, and so I've done animations for him, which is a lot of fun. And then he was like, oh, like, do you make music? And I was like, oh yeah, I do. And I sent him my Spotify and whatever. He listened to it and he was like, oh my God, we should do a collab. And I was like, I'm super down. So he made this incredible beat and melody that's just beautiful. And he played I don't know how to pronounce it, the Mabira, which is like this like South African harp kind of thing. And it's like this beautiful instrument. And he, you know, made this really great kind of like poppy vibe. And I just like made vocals over it, and we were like, yes, like this is it. And I'm so happy I met him. Like, it's really cool to collaborate with people who, you know, I would have never ever met, you know, if it weren't for me trying to reach out to all sorts of people, like globally, and like meet all these different kinds of artists who are involved with so many different things. So I'm really excited about that. I'm gonna post the visual for that pretty soon, and a little sneak peek of the song. So I'm excited.
That's rad. That's rad. I mean, and like, it's awesome that like you work with people from all over. You know, I think that's so phenomenal. Like, I mean, I'll tell you, like, the internet is being the. I can't necessarily get in a room with somebody who lives 10 minutes south and 20 minutes north of me. You know what I mean? So you can work with this guy, Rudd. Is it Rudd in the beat? Rudd on the beat? Something like that?
Rudd on the beat, yeah.
I think we've been chatting. Like,
oh, really?
That's so rad. You know what I mean? I think that's just a great opportunity. And in this time, one of the things that I think has really been benefiting is proactive. Like you and I and plenty of other people, like Hiroshima Music. We talked earlier this week. And
yeah, I saw that. That was really cool. Yeah.
And it's like, those are just some kids. And like, there was like, talking to me, like, I remember when I was 15, I wasn't releasing records, I wasn't accepting this upcoming thing, you know, none of that stuff. And it's such an awesome opportunity for all these people to have. And I'll tell you, like, it's a great pause to understand what's been really important. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Especially as it's so wrapped up. Like, we were, I'll be honest, like for Dirtycakes, for instance, I'm a big driving force for a lot of the outreach that we do, right? Everybody's got responsibilities. Like Rick was the speak. He knows a million people. He calls up the phone and like things drop out of the sky, right? And then Becky.
I'm sorry, just like really quick. Like, what the heck? I need to talk to Rick more too. Like, he played with the English Beat for how long?
Like 12 years.
They're like one of my favorite bands ever. Like, and, like my parents' favorite bands. You know, like they reach so many generations. So like that's so cool. I was like, what? You were like, oh yeah, he wrote the review or whatever, and you were like, oh yeah, Rick's gonna write it. Like, he has his record company, and you know, he played with the English Beat for 12 years, and I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Like, I get to talk to this guy, like, who like shared the stage with all these incredible like musicians who like I admire, and oh, it's so cool. Anyway, continue. Just had to digress for a moment.
One of the things we were doing talking is you were asking about the Big League Collective, and Rick, by the way, on Instagram is at Records, which is his record company. Yeah, your messages thing, I was just like, you know, who's like so much better at analyzing music, because Rick, in his day job now, he runs a record company. He also teaches at musicians and he teaches song and then how to get a job in the music business. And like those are his two like courses. It's like this amazing guy that can break down. I was like, you know, this is what an insightful review by somebody that knows way more than I do. Let's get the guy that's good at that. And then Becky being like from the Lunatic, so genius fuck. It's just like there's just this. Like, she brings some energy to everything, and what I love about her more than anything for the band is sector. Like I'll like write songs and bring them to rehearsal, and she'll stop playing like a minute or two, and she's like, "I'm fucking. What's next?" Like it's just like, "Whoa, I'm not gonna edit anything." It's like, no, I don't care. Wasted my time. Like it's like, oh shit,
right, let's get it done.
Yeah, which is great because you always know where you stand with her.
Right.
And she always has some like nice friends and some things that she can. She actually just did this sock puppet show called Boku Askew.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
We just did a link. We just dropped them a link. Actually, just got back from the post office, sending them like this whole care pack. So she was in last week's episode. I'll tag them in the description of this live, and we also shared it on our page. She's the voice of one of the sock puppets, and then I guess this upcoming episode, she got him to use like a couple of our songs, which is rad. And so anyway, to get back to my point, I've been doing like this big thing of like trying to push forward, and the biggest thing for me was like next venue, getting the next show, getting on the stage with the bands and all this stuff. And now that all that stuff is completely off the table, like it's about like making. I feel like those are all they're fun. They're also sort of surface level relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because we're all really exchanging this, we're not able to like our time inside of a room. Actually, exchanging our time in this space where we have the choice, right? Like. We don't have to talk to each other. When you are communicating with people like you're getting something out of it, that exchange of energy in a different way. And I think that's what everybody really digs is that exchange. And so like the idea that now our priorities are reaching out and making friends and expanding our horizons and trying things. We have the time to not really worry about like I don't really have to worry about what we're doing for like the next like 2 or 3 shows, right? It's like
right.
Well, what is coming out? Like every week we now basically have a time and a stamp where we have band time, and it's just like instead of being rehearsal, we get the show or working on this thing. It's like okay, we're getting the artwork for this next single that's coming out, and what are we doing with the music video, and then like all of these like much bigger, more important things. Because while live shows are really important, at the end of the day, the only person that really cares about the live show is the person that was there, unless there's like a photographer or a writer that can write up and just tell everybody how much cooler they were than everybody else that didn't go.
Yeah.
So you get, right? Like, I have no idea what like Led Zeppelin was like live. Apparently, from everything I've ever heard on the internet and inside of books and from stories from friends, they were fucking pretty good. Pretty good band, you know? And I think it's so great to make these like relationships. One of the reasons, like, I was really excited about, like, you know, this collective, about doing the zine, and about those are the things. I think people don't appreciate the value of what artists can bring to the table, especially for across media. Like the fact that you're making animations for somebody, in the zine, and putting together shows, and getting all of these other things that will last far beyond just the moment that you're there. Because the moment you're there, being present is absolutely vital. But in these times where that's not an option, like doing those types of things like you're doing, and so many other people are, whether they're photographers, writers, filmmakers, whatever. Like that stuff is going to be something that means something far more than just a memory at 2 o'clock in the morning or the next day, right?
Yeah.
And to even scope that out an idea, we've been working with this filmmaker guy who came to our last show and did like a 2-camera shoot, right? And we did this whole recording.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that the actual last night of this club is actually caught on camera and can be shared indefinitely. That's a much more beautiful thing than, you know, in recollection of, you know, a couple dozen or 100, whatever, like people that happen to be there.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and like I feel like something too, like creating music with someone who is so far away from you, and like Rod and I were talking about this too, like it's a very meaningful thing, you know, and especially when, you know, you take into account like that there's a huge pandemic right now. Like we're living in history. Like this is going down in history, like whether we like it or not. And, you know, we might as well make the most of it. And, you know, definitely sharing like a creative connection with someone is, it's crazy, like to think about too, especially when you like find the right thing and you like, and that clicks and you're like, okay, this is, you know, like this is something we want to convey. Like this is something we want to put out there in the world. And yeah, so, I mean, hopefully the zine, like as for, you know, the zine goes, I hope that comes together okay. I'm working on it. It's gonna take some time, but it's gonna be so great. I hope when it's done, and I hope that all the artists involved will really dig it.
Well, I'll tell you this, as somebody that has made a zine, the best thing to do is work on the next edition, the next, like I did one, Frag-O Rock, instead of Fraggle Rock, it was like Fraggle.
That is, oh, I love, plus I
so
just love Fraggle Rock, so
right?
It's great.
Like the first one was just like I wrote half the articles. I went to shows and took pictures with my camera because it was before like smartphones, and like you know, I would go to like the library and just run off copies for like 5 sheets folded over, and I just dumped a bunch of them out. And like I think at the end, on the back of it, I'd be like, here are the upcoming shows for the next like 2 months that I think you should check out.
That's so awesome, yeah.
And, like so, then I also put in, so I would like interview 1 or 2 people. I wrote a couple articles, got 1 or 2 people to do it, and the most important thing is just getting the next one ready. And I love things, and I hope you don't let great be the enemy of like good enough to make some things happen. You know, as soon as you put it out, everything is about the next one and saving that and archiving it and providing that opportunity. While it gets better and better, the more that you do, the more your momentum builds, the more people can jump on with what you're doing. And I'll tell you this, like by the end of it, I had multiple venues like giving me, I was promoting the shows that they were doing. I got the radio gig out of things. I had other people writing. I was throwing big shows. I had touring bands coming to like play like my release parties and stuff. That was by like edition like 5 or 6. So like it didn't take long. So
right. Yeah.
I'm super excited for what the future looks like if you keep that up.
Thank you. I mean, day by day. I mean, it's fun to just work on it and be able to work with such amazing people. So I'm very lucky.
Well, you know, I think one of the things that's great is so open to it and you're so eager about dealing with people. And I think people are very, you know, I think that having that right attitude and personality that can fill a room a little bit, you know, I think that's always good. And that's one reason why you have a show and why people like it and why you have 2 shows. And I think the first when I saw your shows, it was the artwork where it's like you like smorgasbord, literally your face like face plant on top of this picture. And I was like, that's great. I love it.
Thank you. I was like, I was like, well, because at first I was like, you know, like when I was being trained for, you know, being a DJ, Guillermo, the co-director was like, what's your show going to be called? And I was like, Smorgasbord. And he was like, what the fuck? And I was like, because, you know, it's like an auditory buffet. And so I just kind of took that and ran with it. Because I was like, fuck it. Like, you know, I'm just playing a bunch of shit that I like, whatever. And like mostly local stuff and like new releases from bands. But I was like, might as well. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to take myself too seriously. So I, you know, because I feel like it's just, at this point, I can't even take myself seriously, you know, like why should other people? And you can quote me on that. But I like, yeah, so I was like, oh, I should get like one of those old like 70s, like smorgasbord looking photos and then put my face on like the like lady on like the lady's face who's like making the big buffet of food or whatever. And it was really fun to make that. And I'm like, oh my God, it cracks me up.
I love it. You know, it reminds me of my very first radio show. I had this show. My very first radio show was 5 to 7 Saturdays. And so
Nice.
I called Saturday morning cartoons because everybody that listened in driving home from work at clubs or driving to like the Saturday morning show.
Oh, that's perfect.
And I was just like, all right, cool. So like every segment opened with like bands covering like cartoon theme songs. So like there's not,
awesome.
but I would have like the Dickies doing like Underdog, or I would have like somebody doing Gigantor, or like
oh my God, that's great.
theme songs, or like stupid shit like that. You know? But it's a lot of fun, and I'm really glad that you're enjoying that. You only have a couple more minutes before Instagram's going to knock us off. So yeah. I did say, like, I give you an opportunity to plug the things you got to plug and all of this stuff. Not that you need to plug anything, because I found you plenty of other people can too.
All right, let's go. Okay, one, just follow at Big Leap Collective. Yeah. Because especially if you're an artist or a musician, or if you're just a lover of arts in general. Two, I'm just gonna plug myself. I don't do this. I don't plug myself enough, so I'm just gonna do it because you know what? Fuck it. I have a new single coming out with Rudd, amazing producer, beat maker. We just talked about him on August 10th. There's gonna be more info about that soon. I'll be having a pre-save link. It's gonna be fun.
Nice.
3, no, there's not a third. There's not a third. Well, 3 is just if you like listen in on my radio show, if that's something you want to do.
Yeah.
And send in music. Yeah, and if you are a musician, or you have friends who are musicians who just want to get their work out there, or you think that there are some really cool songs that I should be playing, hit me up on my Instagram. Yeah, that's it.
Cool. So when is the show? How do people listen to it?
So my shows are on Wednesday. Now they're on every other Wednesday from 2 to 4. Starting this Wednesday. I have a guest on this Wednesday's show, Genevieve Artady. She's huge. She's amazing. She came out with a new album called Dizzy Strange Summer. Check her out. She performed with Lewis Cole, if anyone you know Lewis Cole and the band know her. And so I'm gonna have her. But anyway, that'll be fun. That's at 3 p.m. this Wednesday. Again, I'll have more info on that soon. So yeah, every other Wednesday from 2 to 4, and Sundays from 12 to 2. And yeah, you can listen in on KXSF.FM or KXSF 102.5 FM on the old-fashioned radio, or just listen in on the KXSF app. If you look up KXSF 102.5 FM, I'm pretty sure it's on the App Store for any phone.
Yeah.
And then again, if you are a musician, or you have any friends that are musicians or have bands or anything, just send along music. I will totally play it if it's appropriate. I will totally play it. That's
rad. I think that's awesome. You know, and you're now telling me that we have 1 minute and 43 seconds remaining. So but anyway, like, I love it. I really appreciate like the collective stuff. I think it's great that you're providing people an opportunity. I think it's wonderful that you, as somebody that has a mountaintop to shout from, are using that. Or you're using that opportunity to help other people, because it's all about whoever can do that. You know what I mean? If you have the personality and the access and the opportunity, you just got lucky. That gatekeeper. Well, then mazel tov to you for using it for something that can help the rest of us. You know.
Well, thank you. Same with you guys with these Live at 5s. This is awesome. This is a great opportunity. So thank you. I really appreciate you talking to me.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, this is just something that randomly one day I'm going to book like more. And then we ended up like 2 weeks ago, I think, or last week, we had Dave Catching. We've got Circle Jerks coming on. We got Brendan, Plague Vendor, coming on the show. We got the owner of local businesses, like owner of coming on, somebody that's helped me lose the fair amount, get healthy and happy and nice. And from a local organization called Being a Band or Die is going to be coming on the next show. My buddy Jeff Nolan next Friday. He is the guy in charge of sitting on the wall at every hard rock in the world. The head historian of hard rock. So we're going to have all sorts of stuff. And I just booked this great artist, Finn McKenty from Punk Rock NBA channel on YouTube. Don't know about Punk Check it out. He's amazing. He's gonna be on a whole bunch of stuff, and it's just because you're doing it. If you do it, people jump on.
Yeah, just gotta go for it.
Jump on the thing.